suppressors, machine guns, short barrel rifles, and short barrel shotguns. What is the common theme with these items? They are all regulated per the National Firearms Act, or NFA. Hello, I'm Kace Rainsbarger, and today I want to talk to you about the NFA, what it is, and what it entails, and why it was introduced. The National Firearms Act of 1934 was the original rendition of the NFA, and it has had many changes and amendments made to it throughout the years. Most important and common known amendments were the Gun Control Act of 1968 and the Firearm Owners Protection Act. So let's talk a little bit more about the National Firearms Act of 1934. The NFA of 1934 imposed a tax on items described in the act, which was anything under, pretty much anything under 18-inch barrel. What ended up in law was any rifle or shotgun with a barrel under 18 inches. It also imposed a tax on dealers, manufacturers, and importers that deal in NFA items. According to an article that I read on recoilweb.com that was posted in 2017, the initial bill, H.R. 9066, defined firearm as a pistol, revolver, shotgun having a barrel less than 16 inches in length of any other firearm capable of being concealed on the person, a muffler or silencer, therefore, or a machine gun. So what that means is that they were trying to make anything and everything other than a standard rifle or shotgun with a barrel length over 16 inches an NFA item, resulting in a $200 tax payable to the government. Now, the bill was changed back to the 16 inches, or the 18 inches, I apologize, for the rifles and shotguns, along with suppressors, machine guns, and everything like that. No pistols were added. Now, the bill was later changed in 1968 under the Gun Control Act, which we'll talk about now. The Gun Control Act of 1968, commonly known as the GCA, was an amendment placed in order to fix one of the NFA's original biggest problems, which was a violation of the Fifth Amendment. The weapons that were manufactured prior to the law of the NFA of 1934 were not grandfathered in, meaning that individuals that owned these weapons now had to register them after the law had been dropped, meaning that, hey, just because you had this before doesn't mean it's exempt, add it. That was a big problem. The government said, no, let's change it. They changed it, resulting in the Gun Control Act of 68. Now, the GCA also added destructive devices, which was pretty much anything that dealt with explosives, and they also required serial numbers to be started being stamped onto firearms, stamped or etched. They also expanded the definition of machine guns. The GCA would then later be amended by the FOPA, or as we know it, the Firearm Owners Protection Act. The Firearms Owner Protection Act of 1986 was a major step in the process of removing machine guns from civilian hands. It changed the definition of suppressor as well, along with suppressor parts. The FOPA also amended the GCA that we previously mentioned by prohibiting the transfer or possession of machine guns except for government entities and weapons that were manufactured prior to May 19th, 1986. You can still buy transferable machine guns, but they are very unobtainable at prices of tens of thousands of dollars, reaching sometimes into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So why were all these laws and amendments put into place? Were they necessary, and did they work? So the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, or the ATF, on their website they stated that this legislation is a direct response to gang violence. This act imposed criminal, regulatory, and tax requirements favored by gangsters, machine guns, silencers, and sawed-off shotguns. So I didn't think that was the only reason, so I kept digging. And this is what I found. Also on the ATF's website and another subsection of the NFA says, while the NFA was enacted by Congress as an exercise of its authority to tax, the NFA had an underlying purpose unrelated to revenue collection. As the legislative history of the law discloses, an underlying purpose was to curtail, if not prohibit, transaction of NFA firearms. So they were pretty much saying, hey, we don't want anybody to have these simply because we don't want you to have them. And it really is more of, we don't want you to have them because gangsters had them and that's what they like to use. With the ever-growing firearms industry, we have seen two new additions in the last decade, one being bump stocks, which were used allegedly in the Las Vegas shooting in 2017. And then the one that is now being fought is the pistol brace ban that they are working on, which has been a legal loophole for a lot of firearms enthusiasts that didn't want to have to register their firearm or firearm item in accordance with NFA and ATF rules. Now, the NFA has worked as intended, and it will continue to regulate the firearms that civilians can own. And I would say it's worked as they wanted it to, because the deaths attributed to an NFA item are so low that it's not even tracked. But from my research, I can see that it is around 2 to 4, and we're talking about machine guns here. Like I said, no confirmed number. I'm glad I was able to share this information with you, because even if you are not a gun owner like I am, I think it is very important to understand laws and regulations that have been placed over our heads, and to understand why they keep changing. There is a reason. There's always a reason for these laws to keep changing. Now it's all up to you to make your own assumptions on why the NFA still exists and why amendments keep being added. Thank you for your time and your patience.